going on, bro?
What's going on?
Lots to unpack today. Lots to unpack today.
Lots to
Um,
unpack today. I mean, we first thing I'll say is I was the one bit of joy I was trying to find yesterday was watching my St. John's Red Storm play some basketball yesterday, and they went into double overtime. We're up by 5 with 12 seconds left, and still lost the game by 1 point.
wow, who you play?
Baylor.
Baylor's not bad in
No,
basketball.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. No, it was a
so,
game, though, man. It was a game. It was back and forth. It looked like a professional slugfest. They were going back and forth like crazy.
yeah. Well, we always rooting for St. John's, man. We got an alum from St. John's. Shout out St. John's, Rick Pitino. We know that NIL money is pumping in from Adidas and all types of things that are legal now that might not have been legal then. And yeah, because imagine if NIL was legal when he got caught up with the whole Adidas debacle. Brody,
Yeah,
he would they'd be forced to be reckoned with right now, man.
yeah. Your mic is popping a little. I don't know if it's just me, but your mic is popping a little.
My mic is Graham. Do you hear my mic popping?
I do.
All right, cool. I mean, if y'all logged on fast earlier, I could do sound checks.
His mic is popping and it's our fault.
Yeah.
He's like, if y'all was here early, I could have checked my mic.
Yeah, man. But it's cool though. We in the building. All right, so
Yeah.
this is a kind of heavy show, man, because we about to unpack on a couple different things, couple different topics and stuff. And so I want to give y'all a moment to kind of gather yourselves. We'll see y'all on the other side. All right. So first topic for me is I think Black and Latino relations are at an all-time low in the country based off of the results of this election. And I feel like it's super important for us to kind of unpack that to see, what kind of direction we need to go in and what kind of healing needs to happen writ large in order for us to be as one and be a force. So first off, that could just be my take. What are you guys thinking in terms of that, what I just said?
I think you're right. I mean, you've heard me say before that I don't believe that there is a unified Latinx Latino community. I think if you would ask me, Steve, how do you identify? I first and foremost would say Puerto Rican, right? And I think there's a significant difference between Latinos who come from different parts of the world, politically, culturally, socially, linguistically. Language can be very dialecty across the place. And so I think first and foremost, it's hard to think about the relations with a block of a community that is really super, super diverse and not really singular minded. That being said, I mean, listen, these are some Black and Latino relationships that are going pretty well right here. So it's good in places.
No, that's facts. I can't refute that. G, where you at?
Yeah, man. It's interesting. I think that just the demographic changes or shifts in the kind of electoral map and how it's the sort of Latinx voting population has shifted to the right, as did many demographic groups between 2016 to 2020 to now. But that it's an interesting dynamic because I think that the kind of expectation, especially on the left, about demographic or democratic voting blocks and who they could theoretically rely on to get their votes in the polls has shifted, and that means a lot of different things. I think part of it is people are not satisfied with what their party is, what the party that they had voted for previously had done for them in those intervening years. And I think that's created some tension. There are definitely people in my kind of broader community as a school leader who, voted for and supported Donald Trump that I would have maybe not thought would have been their primary candidate. But that says something a lot. This says a lot about what was offered to them before and how satisfied they were with the direction of their lives. And while I disagree, I'm trying to find common ground, but it is hard because this election did feel personal.
Bro, I don't think I could have said it better in terms of just like, as a school leader, you have to be agnostic to a lot of things. It's like you have to be nonpartisan in terms of like your approach, right? Because like you don't want to show your hand and then you isolate or make people on your staff or make parents feel a certain kind of way about things or whatever, right? So it's like I try to approach it, with kindness or whatever. But like again, having a vested interest in this election, having a daughter that's 10 years old that may have to experience certain things given the choices that having a quad, because this is not a trifecta, he has a quad because he has a Supreme Court, some of these sweeping reforms that can happen. So it's like, we got to be mindful and thoughtful. It's a job that never ends, bro. It's a thankless job, and it never ends.
Yeah. But
Steve, man, you're unpacking a bit more because you're in higher education. You're dealing with DACA. You're dealing with all kinds of things. So set the audience up. Let them know what DACA is, and let them know what you are experiencing on the higher ed level in terms of this mass deportation that may confront us in a couple of months.
Well, I mean, I think the administration has been, or the incoming administration, I should say, has been pretty vocal about their plans for mass deportations, about their plans for how they want to, move people out of roles. And, we've heard languages like going into, organizations and pulling people out, things like that. One of the things that we've been thinking a lot about, and we've continued to think about a lot about, is like, what are the implications of that rhetoric? What are the implications of that policy? The National College Attainment Network, known as NCAN, is a national nonprofit that's a membership organization of lots of organizations like mine that do college access, college success, and persistence work. They are very close to working with they work closely with the federal student aid and with the ed department around FAFSA and the recent changes to the FAFSA form, and really sort of are big advocates for Pell and for expanding Pell and keeping Pell an option to make college affordable for students. They are not an organization that will lightly give out recommendations and policies. But yesterday they sent out a note to all members, and I want to read a piece of it. They said, we cannot assure that individuals who are undocumented might not be identified and targeted for punitive action in the future. And because of the potential stakes for this process, every mixed status family, especially those who are setting up FSA IDs, and contributing to the FAFSA for the first time, should make a considered decision about whether to submit a FAFSA. For some, the potential risk could now outweigh even the considerable benefits of federal student aid. So for an organization like NCAN to send this out to its members, many organizations like ours are amplifying this advice to the students that we work with. But the reality is that many students who are already in college, who have come from mixed status families, have submitted this information and sitting right now inside of federal databases with information that the Higher Ed Act prohibits from being used for any other purposes than to award financial aid. But now there's a lot of, I think, fear and uncertainty about how that data might be used in support of the incoming administration's agenda for deportation.
Bro, you just said a mouthful in terms of what can possibly happen. And so for those of us that have college age kids, in terms of high school seniors that are going to go to college. From my understanding of what you just said, basically you're saying that they have to now weigh the option of filling out the FAFSA in order to get aid, or think about if there's a parent or someone that's in a mixed family, them being deported, right? And so imagine as a college student, or imagine as an emerging a high school student emerging to go to college, your thinking now is not, man, what college am I going to go to? What college can I afford? You now have being forced to think about, well, damn, if I fill this out, my parents could possibly be deported. That's crazy, bro.
Family or loved one. And it's wild because many of these students are U.S. citizens, right? They have birthright citizenship. They were born here. They've only known their lives in the United States, right? And by right of who they are, should have access to Pell money to help them afford their way through college. But because of the status of their loved ones and their families, now have to make a very difficult decision about what is right for them. Look, there's a lot of uncertainty here. We don't know what's going on. What we know is that we have not received any assurances from the federal government.
Oh, nor will you.
That information, won't be used that way.
Come on, let's think about this, right? Let's think about this. Let's think about this as like. Let's think about this as Republicans, right? Bro, one thing's for certain is if this guy campaigned on this idea that there is going to be mass deportation, and he put in the person that he put in as the czar for the border, and now you have these border states that are now all red, bro, this is about to be bad.
Yeah, and I think I think there's also the question of many of us have staff who are here legally on visas or here legally in green cards. Like, we don't know how broad this goes. Some of them are here have DACA status, right? Like, we don't know how big and how far this is actually going to get. And so the uncertainty is not just about, I think, how you work in the system with the students and the unfortunate decision they have to make about their futures, but also about the organizations that we're in, the people that we work with, and the staffs that we manage on a daily basis. And so this is the very beginning of what I think will be an ongoing, persistent source of, frustration, sadness, anger for many of us in the field.
Yeah. But a lot of people out there, they're like, oh, a lot of these legal E's and a lot of these people that these paralegals. I know you don't like when I come for paralegals, Steve, but I'm coming for them today. So a lot of these paralegals, and there's some good ones, right? I watch Suits. I know.
I watch Suits.
but seriously, people are like, oh yeah, this is gonna get tied up in litigation. This is not gonna happen for years. Like, yo, y'all aren't very smart in terms of like how this is aligning, right? So like, the difference is the last time when there was a Muslim ban, like, the court didn't look like how the court looks now. This court looks totally different now and is strategically set up to do whatever this man wants to do. And so,
and even if that's the case, right? Even if ultimately there are legal battles to this, I think the damage is around the decision and the fear that accompanies it, right? Like, so even if there is no risk to the student ultimately, or to the student's family ultimately, the fear of risk and the uncertainty of fear will cause people to make decisions that may not be ultimately in the best interest of themselves in the long run, right? And so like there's the legal action, and then there's like the depression of, we're already seeing enrollment numbers down because of FAFSA and because of the changes in policy at the higher ed level, right? And so enrollment numbers are down for 18-year-olds going directly into college. And so for us to think about this as another depression in the number of students who have the opportunity to go and earn a degree, it's wild to think that this will be on top of those things. And I think it's sad and frustrating.
Yeah, it's like I think this is a good example of one of those elections have consequences moments where you would think, and especially for for young people who think that they may or may not be impacted by these decisions, when if you are a young person who voted for Trump and thought that it was like a funny thing to do that would have no impact on you, and then you look around at your college class, college classmates a year from now, 2 years from now, and see that there's a market demographic shift in those people who are still remaining in those classrooms, like that has consequences. And that is something that I think shouldn't be taken lightly. And this news is really, really disheartening. Just the far reaches and potential impact of these decisions on many students and families.
Bro, I'm gonna take the screen. This election, it not only was it this election, I call this election a FAFO election, and so if you voted a certain way, thinking that things were going to be different, you about to find out. You effed around, but now in a couple of months, you about to really find out. If this dude did a Muslim ban, right? Like that's only a foreshadow of the types of things that he can do. Like people jump out in front and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna vote for Trump, we're gonna do this, that. But it wasn't but like a couple of years ago when he was referring to Latino people as bad hombres and all the things, bro. It's like, yo, people have short memories in terms of like how this works or whatever. And like that dude does not work in a short memory. He has a long memory. If you was ever his enemy, if he ever hated you, he's never gonna not hate you, bro. That's just how he operates. And so, man, this is
look, I think at the end of the day, right? Like a lot of things are being said, a lot of fears are here. We don't actually know what's going to happen, and we're just trying to make plans for our students. The reality is that we have students who either have strong aspirations or are in the middle of fulfilling those aspirations, or at the beginning stage of fulfilling those aspirations. And our job is to make sure that we build the future workforce of this country to help more students, earn their bachelor's and get off to a good career start. And we're going to keep doing that, but it just got a lot harder.
Well, so all right, because this conversation is going one way, and I feel like you got to have the Lord's advocate, bro. Because I don't really like when people say devil's advocate, but like the Lord's advocate. So, bro,
I got tread lightly here.
I know, I understand, and so that's why I'm gonna do all the talking. I'll do all the talking right now. Don't worry. Let me take the screen off you, so you and Graham don't have to get any blowback. So a lot of the reason why the American people, I'll say, because this guy won the popular vote, and it's like, yo, you gotta take that into consideration. But a lot of people are pissed off with the amount of free things that they feel are being given to folks that are coming across the border illegally. And so this election was a revolt based off of them feeling like people that are coming across into the United States are getting more opportunities in order to be successful than they are, even though they have been here. And so you'll see people like start to see things like FBA. I didn't even know what the hell FBA was until recently, but you got the foundational Black Americans that are now creating a dust up with folks in the diaspora, right? So it's not just Latinos that are experiencing this shift in terms of like togetherness or whatever. It's everybody that's doing this. Not to be remiss if we didn't talk about the differences between middle class and higher class white people and poor white people, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't know where we're going, man. I don't know. Graham, I don't think y'all gonna win an election anytime soon, bro.
Y'all gonna win an election. He put the whole party on you.
I know.
Y'all didn't win an election.
Yeah, I would say trust the process, but I don't really know what the process is.
Yeah, the process was definitely lost. All right, Graham, I'm putting you on the spot. We're making a pivot, right? And so one of the things that I'm seeing in this whole charter school movement, right, is that I'm starting to see
I already know it's coming.
really high performing charter schools start to outperform suburban rich white. So hold on, let me set this up differently. I'm starting to see students that are at high performing charter schools that are global majority students that are now starting to outperform suburban white kids. And so my question to you is, whenever you see a new charter school coming up, it's a new charter school that's coming and it's going into the inner city, or it's going into the hood, it's going to where predominantly Black and brown folks are. When are we going to start seeing there being this mass choice for there to be charter schools in suburbia that will now be a pathway for Black and brown students in the suburbs, right? Because Black and brown students aren't doing well in the inner city, and they're not doing well in the suburbs in those schools. When will we see a pivot?
Oh, that's interesting. You know, I feel like in other parts of the country, like, I mean, New York might be somewhat of a, I don't know if it's an outlier, but in other parts of the country, there are, I know certainly in like Florida, for example, there are a lot of charter schools in suburban areas and outside of cities, different types of models that try to do the thing that private schools did before, that kind of facilitated the white flight out of cities and created sort of these isolations, pockets of isolation for certain groups of people to continue to have the kind of education and school experiences that they wanted, while still leaving Black and brown students behind. So now that there are lots of Black and brown students out in suburbs, I think there are some pretty big structural challenges to lots of dollars, lots of property taxes that are trying to protect the integrity of those public institutions and are more resistant to the disruption that was faced in the cities because the situations were so bad and the sort of numbers were so great that they kind of welcome these new charter schools in to help try to solve problems. But I think politically it's much more challenging to get a foothold in suburban areas to ultimately like create models and structures that can help change the trajectory of Black and brown kids. But I don't think those folks want it in their backyard.
I'll just say, like, I'll say this. What I'll say is, I mean, that's why every once in a while you hear the reemergence of vouchers, right? Like, this is, like, to me, the opt-out of the public school system for suburban communities is parochial, Catholic schools, or, religious institutions, or, private institutions. Like, I think there's always been the option there because resources provide that option, and they want to ramp that up and sort of bring that further into, middle class with sort of voucher structures. And so, like, to me, I think we will see a proliferation of more charter options when, the dollars can more easily flow in that direction.
Yeah. That's a good point. So I'm gonna use myself as case in point, right? So case in point, I'm all the way out in Suffolk County, right? And I think it's two charter schools in Suffolk County. Maybe two.
Probably.
All right, so
maybe two.
So my largest sending districts, right, are Longwood Central School District, Riverhead Central School District, which is our host district, William Floyd Union Free School District, and I say Middle Country School District. So in Longwood, their proficiency for ELA is like in the 20s, bro. So if this is in the 20s, like whole school, then that's a problem. That's problematic, right?
Yeah.
And so what I did even prior to the release of test scores is that if you're trying to like move or build a charter school in a district, you have to send them notice in order to let them know that, hey, listen, I may be thinking about other options for students in your district. Bro, I sent them a letter, letting them know that, hey, there's a possibility that some things might be changing, right? And you know, I'm a nefarious actor in on the charter scene, so you know, I may have had my reasons as to why I sent the letter the way that I did. But bro, the next day, Graham, I promise you, Steve, I promise you, I got a call from the state. Like, Ray, what are you doing?
Right. Don't be pointing out numbers. Don't be pointing out performance numbers. Come on.
I'm hearing about a letter. I'm hearing about an email. I'm like, wait a minute. You're hearing about a letter. You're hearing about an email. But are you hearing about these numbers that I just pulled out in terms of how these students are advancing? And this is not just black students. These are white students. These are, bro. All demographics of these schools on Long Island, they're not. Some of these districts are not serving their kids well. Yeah. And so my point is, if you have a Wyandanch that is global majority, historically marginalized students, if you can say, all right, we're going to deploy a charter school into the Wyandanch school district because they're not doing right by black kids and they're not doing this, they're not doing that. You now have to make the same argument for a Longwood or for a William Floyd or for like some of these white-centered school districts that are not doing right by their kids. You got to make the same argument for that. You can't just say, all right, we're going to go in on Long Island and wherever there's black and they're not doing well, we're going to put a charter school there and then not have school options for other people. That's my argument. You tell me if I'm wrong.
You ain't wrong, and I can name a bunch of other school districts that need to be thinking about it too.
100%.
Brentwood, Central Islip.
Oh wow! You just you know what you just did? You just went the Ronkonkoma line.
It's like Wyandanch, Brentwood, Central Islip.
Ronkonkoma.
I know because I graduated from Brentwood High School, so I am very familiar with that school district.
Yeah,
but I tell you what, if you talk too loud about a charter school in Brentwood, you got a state representative, boy. He is on it. He will make your life a living hell.
That may or may not have been the state representative I ran against 20 years ago.
Oh, hey, listen, you lucky we didn't know each other there because I would have beat the streets for you, bro. I definitely would have beat the streets for you. Yo, so which one of you guys are going to run my campaign for school board next year? Because I'm most certainly running, man. Running.
I got you.
I'll do the whole circuit of farms and fruit stands and bakeries that y'all got out there.
This guy.
I'll hit all of them. I'll go on that line.
Hitting the wineries.
Yeah. I'll give a petition in front of the winery. I'll do the peach pie circuit.
Bro, they just opened a dispensary out like 2 steps from the outlet. So now you can shop me in yo, wait a minute. Hey.
That's for voters. I mean, there are voters everywhere, man. There's voters everywhere.
There's no disclaimers here because I passed drug tests. I've never used a drug in my life. All right. Final thoughts. Graham, we'll start with you, sir.
Oh man, hey, the Knicks, 9-6. They're making it up. They're figuring it out. We got to work on a 3-point defense and figuring out what our bench is gonna do once we get some people healthy. But I like where we're headed. It feels good.
Yeah.
I mean, if people would just would make it a hard 3 instead of an easy 3, maybe put some people on the ground. Maybe that's a little. We don't have to worry so much about the defense. Yeah. I'm talking about St. John's, Red Storm, my people. They are 4-1. They lost a nail biter last night in double overtime. College basketball is back here in Queens. I'm excited about it.
Nice.
All right. And so My closing thoughts, I'm shouting out the homie Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston last night took the Browns to a win. It just proves that any given Sunday, if you're an NFL team, you could beat somebody. And so I'm super proud of that. And plus, it now positions the Steelers at 8-3. Got my Ravens with 4 losses. So that last game of the season between the Ravens and the Steelers that's happening at M&T Stadium have just skyrocketed my tickets. If you want tickets, I got for $3.50 a pop. $3.50 a pop.
Wait.
Let's go.
I don't know the answer to this, but my ask it because I think is Mr. Winston a frat brother? Is there some frat love going
not
on?
at all.
Okay,
Not at all. He just put me back in the game to pay for my season tickets without having to pay for my season tickets, baby. So I'm all about that life, man. You know, walking around feeling like I made it, being able to say that I got season tickets. The only thing I need now is a Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, like walking distance for me, and then I feel like I made it.
You made it. I can see one. There's one right there on the corner. I can see it right on the.
You made it. You made it, bro.
I made
Yo, you're not in the food desert, you know. All right, folks. We'll see you next week. Well, actually, we won't see you next week because I'm thinking that I'm gonna be doing some Black Friday shopping at Woodbury. But
wait, before we go, it's important breaking news. It just popped up on my threads. Kendrick Lamar released a surprise album like 30 minutes ago. That's all I know.
It's got a
So
and other breaking news. Kendrick Lamar just released an album 30 minutes ago, and we don't give a shit. Drake fan, baby.
Oh, wow.
It's got a
You would be a Drake
track
fan.
on it. Come on.
You would be a Drake fan.